Well, General James Mattis recently made comments to the United States Armed Services Committee on Capitol Hill in which he prescribed that the Russian Federation and China were standing up to and asserting themselves in the face of U.S. domination. And he's established that as a threat to the international order. But to understand that in a light of truth, we need to look at it two ways. Number one, General James Mattis as a man, and number two, what the policies really represent. Now, on one level, the policies in General Mattis's idea is that the United States has some sort of a eternal right to dominate the U.S., to dominate the world's energy resources and serve as the world's policeman, and that China and Russia have a duty to become vassal states of the United States. And this has been a long-standing ideological delusion within the U.S. military and political apparatus since September 11, 2001. It actually predates it, but it was put into high drive on that date. And the U.S. has continually pursued a plan to dominate the world's natural resources by eliminating the existing political regimes and setting up controlled countries, balkanized countries, and vassal states. And Russia, Iran, and China represent the last threats because they are refusing to submit to that order. And the other issue to review in General James Mattis is his personal profile. And as a personal profile, he's a man who is invested in war, is invested in bloodshed, has studied war all of his life, and that is precisely what he continues to pursue. He doesn't pursue peace, he pursues conflict. And he is probably one of the worst Secretary of Defenses anyone could ever appoint, precisely because of that reason. And he's also never married, so he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have children. He also has a speech impediment. And from a psychological warfare perspective, the profile of General Mattis is he has a dysfunction, he has a abnormality in his speaking style, which means he has an insecurity in his personality. And an insecure man is a very dangerous man, especially where he wears the military uniform, because there's an element of revenge, there's an element of aggression and hostility against everyone and anything else that's different from it. So it's important to recognize General James Mattis's speaking impediment and his subdued, most likely homosexual inclinations, which have been coming out in the alternative media, in his alternative life, indicate a man that is very dangerous, very mentally unstable, and very prideful and very vainglorious. And of course, perhaps that's one of the reasons Donald Trump has put him in that position. But it's precisely the reason Donald Trump needs to remove him from that position very quickly. General Mattis also received a terrorist financing report in September 25th, 2012, which detailed all of the terrorist financing coming from Saudi Arabia through Swiss banks that he completely ignored. So besides General Mattis's presentation of a fictional assessment of the world's security situation, he should be questioned by members of the U.S. Armed Services on the terrorist financing reports, which he completely ignored and in essence committed treason against the people of the United States by continuing to aid and abet terrorists in their activities in Libya and Syria and beyond. So all of these things are now coming out with the alternative media. They're coming out in various investigations of Mattis, of James Comey, of Loretta Lynch, of the Clinton Foundation. And one is to simply hope that Russia, China, and Iran will stand their ground and say we will no longer accept an imperial United States policy to destroy the world and balkanize nations and break up kingdoms and cause mass migrations to Europe and elsewhere. But instead, the international order is standing up against that agent of chaos, and we are reestablishing peace and harmony in the world by denying the U.S. its ability to dominate the sea, the land, and the air. And that's really the only hope for peace. Otherwise, it will be another decade at least of U.S. bloodshed, fire, and chaos.